It's almost unheard of today for an autofocus full-frame mirrorless lens to be priced as low as $168, but that's exactly what this is. This is the Viltrox 40mm F2.5. This lens has previously been released for the Nikon Z mounts, but it's also just been made available for Sony E-mount, which is what I'll be reviewing today. This lens actually reminds me so much of the nifty 50 back from the old DSLR days. A fun but affordable prime lens. Though unlike those plastic fantastic primes from my early days of photography, this is built so much better and performs surprisingly well. For $168, I made sure to keep my expectations realistic, but I can quite safely say this is a lens which will easily exceed expectations for what you can get out of a $168 full-frame autofocus lens. Let's start with the image quality of this. Fully wide open, it is already impressive how sharp this is in the center, but almost to an alarming extent, in the corners, this 40mm is still very sharp. It's resolving fine corner detail for $168. Also, with zero profile correction, this is how much distortion there is. Incredibly low, practically you won't be seeing any distortion when shooting with this lens. Another pleasant surprise is how little chromatic aberration there is. You'll see hints of it, but never enough to really draw your attention to it. Flare suppression is not bad at all, although you might notice some ghosting if you shoot directly into a bright light source. With minimum focus at 34cm, you can get moderately near, though not super near, for some of those close-up shots on this 40mm lens. And by going close, you can actually get a very respectable amount of bokeh out of the f2.5 aperture. It's the edgier sort of bokeh you get with this lens, and the furthest you can stop down on this is f16 with its 7 aperture blades. The wide open depth of field was actually a little shallower than what I imagined f2.5 to be. The focal length of 40mm certainly helps, and that's actually another thing to absolutely love about this lens, that 40mm focal length. I don't exactly keep it a secret, but I have always loved using the 35mm prime lenses. I swear by them for a lot of stuff I shoot, sometimes a bit more often than I'm proud of. This talking head angle right here, for example, is always shot on a 35mm. I'm gonna go ahead and switch the 35 for this 40mm because this would be a great lens for a talking head setup like this as well. Right. So, this is through the Viltrox 40mm f2.5. I actually really enjoy the look of 40mm lenses. It's slightly tighter than a 35, which frames out a bit more clutter in the scene and draws more focus to your subject. The 35, which is a bit more common, tends to be a rather inclusive field of view, which makes the 40 quite perfect when a 50 is too tight, but you also don't want to step as far back as a 35. In fact, the 40mm look is actually much closer to a slightly tighter 35 than it is to a wider 50. As far as standard lenses go, the 40mm really is in the sweet spot for that super realistic representation of a scene. I just don't think there's enough 40mm lenses out there, so I'm really happy that this one right here is so accessible. While we're here as well, this is how the autofocus keeps up with the face tracking in video. It's driven by a stepper motor, and I'd say it's fast and silent enough for casual shooting. There's a nice big mano focus ring on this 40mm, and the focus throw is actually quite long. It is mano focused by wire, but I was pleasantly surprised that the mano focus response is actually linear. You can do very precise and repeatable focus racks with this. There is no hardware AF/MF toggle, however, so focus modes would need to be tweaked in the camera's UI. But since we're on the topic of hardware, considering its price point, Viltrox has been very generous with the hardware on this 40mm. It's little surprises like this being a fully internal focusing lens, there are no moving elements on the exterior, quite a sweet bonus for something in this price range. You also get a fully metal lens mount, and on that mount you'll find a USB Type-C port for updating the lens's firmware. It's a rather small lens this is, 52mm front filter thread, and on my Alpha 7 Mark IV, the lens actually looks quite tiny. This is one of those lenses which would complement one of the smaller bodies like the Alpha 7C incredibly well. And it's not just the size of it, the weight of this lens is also trivially light. 169 grams. that is lighter than the phone I carry around in my pocket. It really does make quite a difference if you intend to travel with camera gear. We'll never be checking in our camera gear on a flight, so small, lightweight lenses like these are amazing for not taking a huge chunk out of that precious carry-on allowance. When you do use it in your hands as well, it doesn't feel like the lens has really added much to the weight of your camera body either. And I may have referenced it more than once in this video, but I am genuinely impressed by how much this lens has to offer at such a low price point. This lens costs $30 less than this 80GB memory card I'm recording its pictures onto. This is very likely, if not the cheapest option for a full-frame autofocusing 40mm lens for Sony E-mount. And if all the value this lens itself offers isn't enough, Viltrox still ships the lens with a pouch and lens hood included. For its asking price, it would be unreasonable to expect a top-of-the-line experience, but for a budget lens, it is surely delivering more than what we can possibly ask for.